Party people. Well, I have a few minutes to get this live in today. I've made a commitment to myself to do a live every day. And today is probably one of the hardest days to do anything. And it's pretty much because I lost a mentor, a father, friend, a nemesis at times. And I just, I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss for words. What I do know is that reconnecting with my family over the last 10 years, thinking I was coming here to do this 10 years ago and it happening 10 years later, makes a lot of sense because I needed a lot of time to heal and to heal that relationship. And I'm really happy I did because that man meant the world to me. He was one of my best friends for a long time. And we're not perfect. We all make mistakes. And I held his mistakes over his head my whole life. And then I became a father and I realized how hard it is to be a father. And I think about all the great lessons and great things. I love, one of my favorite things in life is that I'm a coach and that I coach men and women and children and I teach them and my dad was my first coach. All of my coaches have told me something really valuable that I've carried my whole life. And I've heard other friends of mine who also were coached by Walter who call him coach, and it always made me giggle a little bit because I thought, but it was his passion. He loved it. He loved being a dad too. I know, looking back, because he was my baseball coach. He was my football coach. He would have probably coached me in gymnastics if he'd known more about the sport. But he used to tell me, if every player would just focus on his position, we'd get this ball down the field. And to this day, that is true. If everyone would do their part and focus on what they're supposed to do and stop worrying about what everybody else is doing, we will get this ball down the field. We're living in some trying times right now. People are scared. Businesses falling left and right. People not knowing what they're going to do for work, where they're going to live. We have to find strength right now. And we have to find the courage that my father had to keep his family together and to do the right thing and to forgive himself and to raise the next generation. And I don't know if this is a good live or not. They're not really, I just thought of the day is kind of how I do it every day. And this being the day that my father passed and went back to spirit, I'm thankful for that because, man, hey, sweetie, he was suffering, man. He'd been suffering for a while. We were real upset in our family because he had, he's a Vietnam vet and he'd gotten Agent Orange and the government never wanted to give him the credit for it, giving him 40% disability all these years. The man hadn't been able to walk, for the last couple of years, but he's at peace now, and we're all at peace because we've been watching this condition for 10 years. So it's like we've been on the verge of this, even when they were saying, hey, we're going to let him go home because we know y'all want him to pass away at home. He wants to pass away at home. I still doubted that he might go. I still thought, me and Peter would joke that he's got 9 lives, you know. Nothing could stop our dad. He was so strong. He's the one that taught me to be strong. Taught me to be a soldier. Taught me to push myself. He put that drive into me to want to be a world-class athlete. He was the reason, in a lot of ways, that I became a professional fighter and pushed myself and everything else. Yeah, he's not hurting anymore. So, I don't know. I know I don't post things because I want to brag or because I want to be like, hey, look at me, look at me. I post them because I know other people are out there suffering and other people are going through the same thing that my family and I go through and people I know go through. And I feel like it's my duty to show people how to do it with courage and with love and kindness. And right now there's a lot of emotion in my family. People are really hurting. And I'm really set on being the rock and to be peaceful and to remind everyone that we're not here to be angry at each other because we're upset, but to just remember what a great person and the qualities that Walter had that I wish I had. He was an old school guy. He was from Illinois, in the country in Illinois, but he dreamed of being a cowboy. And so he moved to Texas and ended up at Dyess Air Force Base. And people say it's the black hole of Texas, Abilene, but honestly, it's the heart. It's the heartland. It's where the heart of Texas is. And my dad dreamed about being a cowboy. He loved shows like The Rifleman. We used to watch these shows when I was young, The Rifleman and Gunsmoke. And, he was far from perfect, but he did some things that a lot of people, including myself, couldn't do today, and that was keep his family together and raise children that have become strong adults. My sister is amazing. She's a single mom for many years who was getting paid good working to downtown bingo, but that wasn't enough for her. And she got her degree and she became an accountant. She's a high-paying accountant in Dallas. Makes 2-3 times what I make. My brother is a hero. He did 2 tours in Fallujah. He's fought for this country's freedom and he earned it. And I'm kind of a black sheep, but I do my best. I try. A lot of people might think I'm an overachiever or a do-gooder, but it's only because I try to make up for the mistakes I've made in my past. And one of my goals is to be a good dad and be a better dad than I've ever known. But some of the best parts that I have came from Walter. And so, Dad, while you are in heaven looking at us and knowing that we're going to be okay because you're already on the other side, and from that perspective, you already see the perfection in life. Send us what we need to live and to be happy because, man, it's hard sometimes. These days are hard sometimes. And I've been dealing with my depression since my divorce for 6 years by drinking whiskey a lot. But I haven't drank in a couple months. I felt like, I was just sick and tired of that heartbreak and punishing myself like that. And today I was real tempted. I even bought 6 fingers of Jim Beam. But I didn't touch him. All I could think of was, if my dad had one wish for me, it'd be that I'd be a better man than he was. And a better dad. And that man is not a drunkard. And he doesn't need whiskey or anything else to get by. especially in times when his family needs him to be solid and his kids need him to be solid. So I thank you, Walter Eugene Greathouse, for all you taught me. You were my best friend for a long time, and I'm so happy that you died in your home, surrounded by your family. Our last interaction with him was with the boys, and I said, "Dad, it's me. You all right?" He was conscious a little bit because he'd been taking a lot of morphine the last 3 days. He happened to be more conscious, I think. And he said, "Who is it?" I said, "It's your son. It's Jimmy." He's like, "Oh." He's like, "You got the boys with you?" I said, "Yeah, I got them." And he said, "I think, oh, I'm leaving." He does this funny voice for the kids he's been doing my whole life. And we all laughed. And that was the last verbal interaction we had. When I came home 10 years ago, we hated each other. We would barely talk. And I know even in the last 4 years, we healed that relationship so much. He would come and tell me, my dad wasn't very good. I didn't grow up in a I love you family and hugging and all that stuff. Very cowboy, old school like that. And my dad he would come to my room and he'd say, "Hey, UFC's on channel 77. That was how my dad told me he loved me. He let me know something I cared about was on TV. I love you, Dad.